On November 7th of 2023, Texans will get to vote on several propositions, one being Proposition 4 that offers tax cuts for property owners. Today, we're breaking down what the Texas property tax reform means for homeowners. Earlier this year, Texas lawmakers passed 3 bills to spend $13.3 billion of a state surplus to help with rising property taxes, which are currently the 6th highest in the nation. Now, according to the Texas Tribune, the extra cash creating the surplus comes mainly from sales tax collections, which every person pays when they make purchases in Texas. Now, that $13.3 billion surplus is actually being added to $5.3 billion budgeted back in 2019 to lower school tax rates to total this $18.6 billion.
So let's talk about the two key parts of the tax cuts package that affect homeowners. And then we'll tell you at the end of this video how you can take advantage of these tax cuts. First is that school tax rates will be reduced. About $7.1 billion would be sent to school districts so they can lower the taxes that they assess on property owners. It compresses school districts' maintenance and operations property tax rate by 10.7 cents per $100 of a property evaluation. This makes up for the largest chunk of the tax bill for most property owners. Secondly, it raises the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000. Now, if you're not sure what a homestead exemption is, it's the amount a homeowner can take off the value of the house that they live in before it is taxed. So, for example, if the house is valued at $600,000, you would be taxed at $560,000 under the current exemption. With the proposed $100,000 homestead exemption, you would now only be taxed at $500,000.
So if you don't have a homestead exemption on your current home, we would highly suggest that you go do that right away. You can go to your county appraisal district website and fill out the form there. You'll see in the second section, there are multiple boxes, so be sure to check off the ones that pertain to you. You have the general residence homestead exemption, but there are also the disabled person, age 65 or older, or a surviving spouse, the 100% disabled veteran or surviving spouse, and a few others. You want to make sure you're getting the full benefits of a homestead exemption. Now, for those 65 and older, you were already eligible for a $10,000 tax cut, so the proposed $100,000 exemption would raise the total to $110,000.
Before we get into how these tax cuts will save you, I want to take a quick pause to let you know that we have a great video about how to protest your Texas property taxes when that time comes. We interviewed an expert who worked in a local county appraisal office for a couple of decades, and lots of our viewers have found this video really helpful when it comes time to help them protest their property taxes.
Okay, so what does this actually mean in potential savings for you? Well, between the increased homestead exemption and the lower school tax rate, lawmakers and policy analysts are projecting a Texas homeowners' property taxes would be reduced by an average of 41.5%. That's about $1,300 per year for a $350,000 home. Now remember, another benefit we get by having a homestead exemption is that we have a 10% appraisal cap. What that means is that they cannot increase our taxable value by more than 10% from the previous year. Now, I know that saved a lot of people in the past couple of years since the home values really skyrocketed.
Speaking of appraisal cap, let's touch on a few other things within the tax cut package. Lawmakers would create a limit on appraisals for commercial, mineral, and residential properties that don't have a homestead exemption and are valued under $5 million. There would be a temporary 20% appraisal cap so they could not increase the taxable value more than 20% from the previous year. Now, this would only be valid until 2026 unless lawmakers and voters decide to continue this program.
Proposition 4 also includes franchise tax exemptions. This would double the amount of money a business can make before it is subject to franchise tax from $1.24 million to $2.47 million. It would also not require businesses that don't meet the new threshold for having to pay franchise tax to file forms to report those taxes. Okay, so some of you who may not be business owners might glaze over on that point. But let me tell you, if you value your small local businesses, I believe this will be helpful. I can tell you from experience that small business owners, we get taxed out the wazoo already. And even though we don't meet the threshold to pay franchise tax, we still currently have to pay our tax preparer just to file a form to say that we didn't make enough money to pay those franchise taxes. So that's another fee.
Another aspect of Proposition 4 is that voters would have to say who is on the appraisal board, which I personally think is a great idea. Currently, county appraisal districts appoint these positions. Under the new legislation, each appraisal district's board of directors would include 3 positions elected by the majority vote at a general election for a 4-year term. This is a great way to hold people accountable. Now, before I tell you how to take advantage of these tax cuts, I wanted to let you know also how this proposition would affect mom and pop property investors. Those who are landlords will qualify for the reduction in school property taxes. Rental properties valued under $5 million each would also qualify for this year-over-year 20% cap on appraisal values for the next 3 years or until 2026. Hopefully this will help stabilize rent rates for those leasing from smaller mom and pop landlords.
So how do you go about taking advantage of these tax cuts? Well, first of all, you must vote yes for Proposition 4 on the November 7th ballot. And secondly, once the proposition passes, you will automatically see the benefits. It's that easy. And the cool thing is that the changes would be applied to the 2023 tax bills due in January of 2024. Now, as we said earlier, if you live in your home and you haven't already filed for homestead exemption, you need to do so right away through your county appraisal district office. In most situations, the exemption can be retroactive up to 2 years. Once you have your exemption, you do not need to reapply for it every year. It stands until you no longer live in the home.
We hope this breakdown of the 2023 Texas Property Tax Reform, or Proposition 4, was helpful for you homeowners. If you want to stay up to date on the Dallas-Fort Worth real estate market, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so that way you don't miss out.